As we all know by now, Lyle and Erik Menendez will not be getting out of prison at this time. They were both recently denied parole. I want to go over what I think about this case, and I want to hear your thoughts as well. Hi, I'm Denise from Fascinating Cases. A lot of people believe the brothers are right where they belong for the killing of Kitty and Jose Menendez, their parents. Originally, it took 2 trials to find them guilty of first-degree murder, and life without parole was their sentence. But in May of 2025, the brothers, both in their 50s, were resentenced to 50 years to life, and thus they were eligible for parole. And those hearings just took place in late August of 2025. During the hearings, Erik faced a parole board that reminded him of several violations. He had a banned cell phone, he engaged in fights while in prison, he committed tax fraud, and smuggled drugs while in prison. I guess he was smoking pot in his cell. Erik also had wine-making supplies in his cell, and he had too much physical contact with his wife during her visits while his stepdaughter read a book nearby. Erik defended himself, saying the fights were over gang activity, and he was defending himself and fighting back. And he said the gang forced him to commit tax fraud, and that he was in tremendous fear. And Erik agreed he was pushing the line during his visits with his wife, but nothing happened, and they were just snuggling for the most part. That's what he said. The board decided Erik was a moderate risk to public safety, and that was enough to keep him behind bars for a little while more. As for Lyle, the board decided that, quote, "You have been a model inmate in many ways who has demonstrated a potential for change. But despite all those outward positives, we see you still struggle with antisocial personality traits like deception and rule breaking that lie beneath the positive surface." Lyle's rule violations were much lighter than Erik's, including refusing an order, using a prison phone without permission, and having contraband such as a lighter and Adidas shoes in his possession. It was decided the brothers would be up for parole again in 3 years, but because of California's Marsy's Law, enacted in 2009, hearings could be as soon as 18 months, another hearing for them. This law would allow a parole hearing date to be moved up if there is a change in circumstances or new information comes up, focusing on inmates who would be a good candidate for parole. So have Erik and Lyle served enough time? Were they sexually abused in unspeakable ways by their father? Proof that they were abused include a letter that Erik wrote to his cousin just 8 months before the murders. In it, he says, "I can't stand to see him. I never know when it's going to happen, and he's driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in." He also says that he wants to tell his mother, Kitty, but she worships Jose and she told him everything, so Erik is being very cautious with what he says to his mother. Another cousin of Erik and Lyle said she visited the home in 1976 when Lyle was just 8 years old, and he told her about the abuse. She in turn told Kitty, who basically said that Lyle was lying. Also, a member of the boy band Menudo alleges that Jose Menendez abused him in the 1980s when Jose was an executive at RCA Records. So do I believe the brothers were abused? I do believe they were abused. I think their anguish on the stand was real.
I just told him that I didn't want to do this and that it hurt me.
And I also think they killed their mother, Kitty, because she knew about the abuse and did nothing about it and didn't do anything to stop it. Why would these 2 boys, who had a luxurious lifestyle for the most part, kill their parents? Something had to trigger it. Did they do it for the money? They spent like drunken sailors, that's for sure, after the deaths. Maybe it was just another way to get back at their parents. Or were they greedy and they killed to inherit their parents' fortune? Erik and Lyle were no angels. They committed robberies in the neighborhood before the murders, and they acted out for sure. But maybe they were screaming inside. I think they hated their parents. Why? Why so much hate that they killed them so brutally? What they did was so wrong, and I do believe they needed to serve time in jail. But how much time? Is it enough time now? Many of Erik and Lyle's family members say it has been enough time and the men should be released. Many of their violations in prison occurred because maybe Erik and Lyle thought they had nothing to lose. There was absolutely no hope for release. But now things have changed. I don't think Erik and Lyle are a threat to society. Again, I can't stress it enough. What they did was wrong. But maybe it's why they did it that also needs to be taken into consideration. I think if they were abused, as they claim, someday I think they should be released. Then again, Governor Gavin Newsom can make the final call and grant clemency to the Menendez brothers. But that's a big decision.
One thing I haven't done, and I think this is important, is I have not watched any documentary. I have not watched anything that has come out on the Menendez brothers, and I very intentionally avoided that in expectation and anticipation that this might land on my desk.
He would have to weigh it heavily, especially if he's eyeing the White House in 2028. What do you think of the Menendez brothers? Do you think they were abused? And if so, do you think that's why they killed? And do you think it's time for them to get out of prison? Let me know in the comments. I'm open to debate, and I really appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe, please, and I will be talking to you again real soon. Thanks. Bye.